and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Zickety Z here with your Great Balls of Fire review. Um, we're not going to take a whole lot of time with introductions here. We'll just get right into it. Let me find my notes. Okay, so we're going to go through it straight off how the card went. Um, and I'll just give you my thoughts and obviously the results. Starting off on the pre-show, we had the Cruiserweight Championship match with Neville and Akira Tozawa. The matches, it was okay. Um, I don't really care for the whole Titus Worldwide thing that's going on. I don't understand how Tozawa fits into that. Um, we may see a rematch. We may not. Um, I'd like to just move. I'd like us to just move on from that feud and put Neville up against somebody that's gonna match him on a physical level. Someone hard hitting, or like a Tony Nese or a Drew Gulak, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know if those guys are still employed. I don't watch 205 Live, so I don't know what's next for the cruiserweight division. It hasn't been good since it's been put on TV after the Cruiserweight Classic. I think that that it needs to be moved to Full Sail, to a better crowd where it's going to be a little more welcomed. Um, so, with that being said, Neville put Tozawa on the top rope. Then he kicked the top rope, and then he hit him with a spinning heel kick in the maybe a low blow, and then covered him and got the pinfall victory. So now we're going to move on to Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins. The match was good, but why do we care? What are they fighting for? It was uneventful. So, I mean, the match was good, but why should we care about that feud? Wyatt wins. So where do we go from here? I don't see Wyatt being put into the Universal title scene. So are we just going to get more pointless matchups, or what? I like the idea of Rollins being put into the Intercontinental title picture. I think that belt could use a couple more superstars to build the prestige of the belt again. The Miz has done great things with it, but I think some of these guys that are kind of trapped in limbo with no creative plans, like Balor and Rollins, and let them go toe to toe and let them face some of the up and coming talent. Because Dean and the Miz is getting old. So Wyatt wins by pinfall. He hits his sister Abigail. Then we have Enzo versus Big Cass. Enzo comes out, cuts another great promo. And then Big Cass comes out finally to new theme music. It's different. I don't. I mean, it's good. I'm not. It is what it is. This was a squash match. Nothing really to highlight here. Enzo takes a big boot, and Cass covers him for a 3 count. So we'll move on from that. Now we're getting to the meat of the pay-per-view. We have the 30-minute Iron Man match the 30-minute Iron Man match for the tag team titles. We have Sheamus and Cesaro against the Hardy Boys. This match saw seven falls that took place. Before the match, the Hardys had a backstage segment, and again he teased the broken gimmick. So now getting into the match, we saw the first fall go to Sheamus and Cesaro, 16 seconds in. It looked like Sheamus was going to start out, and then Cesaro ran in and then slid out of the ring. Um, and Sheamus hit a bro kick on Matt Hardy for a pinfall 16 seconds into the matchup. So Sheamus and Cesaro go up 1-0. The second fall again went to Sheamus and Cesaro. They hit some sort of tandem tag move, some sort of backpack slam. So they go up 2-0. Then we get to the third fall. Jeff hits a twist of fate. So now it's 2-1. Now we go to the fourth fall. It's a count out, which was weird to me. So the Hardys are down 3-1 now at this point. And you can tell that the Hardys are getting older. A lot of the stuff just they're slower. But hopefully we get the broken gimmick sooner rather than later, and we'll see Jeff go off and do his own thing. We'll see Matt do his own thing with the broken gimmick. Moving on now to the fifth fall, the Hardys hit this roll up leg drop and kind of double cover Cesaro. So now it's 3-2. We get to the sixth fall. Matt Hardy hits a twist of fate off the top rope. So it's 3-3, excuse me. And then moving on, the seventh fall has Cesaro getting a pinfall after a blind tag. Cesaro pins Jeff Hardy after Jeff hit Sheamus with a swanton bomb, and it looked like Jeff kicked out, but the ref continued to count, so Sheamus and Cesaro go up 4-3, and then Jeff chases Cesaro around the ring and rolls him back in and hits a twist of fate, and he goes for the cover, and the ref starts to count, but the time expires on the match. And so we see Sheamus and Cesaro retain. It was a great match. There were a lot of really good spots in it. They worked really well together. But with Sheamus departing soon to film this movie, what happens? Do we see an injury angle? I don't really know. At one point in the match, Matt Hardy gets busted open. And it looked like we were building towards Cesaro and Sheamus breaking Matt. I don't know the current status of Matt's deal with Anthem or the situation there. The last I knew, they were still in talks. But I guess we'll find out soon. Moving on now. We have the Raw Women's Championship match between Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. One spot here that I really want to hit on, or two spots that were just really brutal shots. Alexa drops down from the apron to the floor and sweeps Sasha's leg, and she hits her lower back on the apron, and it was a pretty brutal bump that she took. And there was also a spot with a backbreaker that Sasha took as well, and it was that was pretty violent as well. Sasha's back bent in a really weird way, and it looked pretty painful. Moving on, we have Alexa Bliss hitting a Swiss Bliss from the top rope. It's countered into a bank statement. I'm sorry. And then Alexa escapes and rolls out of the ring. And then we have Alexa Bliss retaining. She decided to stay out of the ring, and she winds up losing the match, but retains her title via countout. Why Sasha didn't pursue her is beyond me, but this doesn't make sense to me. But again, that's why I'm not in the creative team. I don't know how I would have done this differently. I think they should have given Sasha the belt and let her and Bayley feud and have Sasha turn heel on Bayley. Um, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks, building to SummerSlam. Moving on, the Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz and Dean Ambrose. Um, this was a really good match. I like this match. It was fast paced. The guys worked really hard. Dean's style is very very different. One might say lackadaisical. But these guys really worked hard in my opinion. There wasn't very many rest spots, um, and I think they did a really good job with this match. Let's see here. At one point, Dean hits a dirty deeds and goes for the cover. And he goes for the cover, and Maurice puts the Miz's foot on the bottom rope to avoid the 3 count. Um, and so the match continues, and things kind of break down. Um, and the Miz Taraj gets involved. They get into the ring, and then it ends up with Miz hitting a skull-crushing finale. There weren't too many big spots here, but in my opinion, these guys worked really hard, and I think it was a really good match. They worked hard. They were always doing something. There wasn't a lot of rest told. It was fast paced. I enjoyed it, um, and so that's all that is. Where we go from here, I don't know. I think the Miz needs to get away from Dean. That feud is done and over with. I think he needs to go on to face guys like Ty Dillinger or a Finn Balor or a Seth Rollins, to continue to build the prestige of that belt again. Um, but we'll see what happens. And as far as Dean goes, I don't think he's going to get a rematch. I don't see him going back to the Universal title scene. But then again, I don't see him being a jobber, so I'm assuming we'll see him in comedy spots or something of that nature in a weird role. I don't know what they have planned for him. So we'll see what happens. Now we get into the final 2 matches of the night. We have the ambulance match first, Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. Let me just say that Braun Strowman is an absolute freak athlete. We've come to find this out over the past few months. At 6'8", 385 pounds, this guy is just ridiculous. He's agile. He's super strong, and he moves well. Very much unlike other big guys. He moves well in the ring. And he's a one of a kind athlete. You don't see that too often nowadays. I mean, you have guys like Brock Lesnar, but I don't think he matches him on a physical level. But some other things I want to highlight in this match. We saw Braun dish out some shots to Roman with the steel steps. We saw chair shots. Roman hit Braun with a series of chair shots that Braun just took, and at one point you hear Braun say, "Hit me, you son of a bitch," and it wasn't like Roman was lightly swinging. He was putting some effort into it, and Braun was just taking it. At one other point in the match, Braun actually goes for a cover, and then he realized that oh wait, this is an ambulance match, and I can't win by pinfall. So they caught that. Roman hits a Samoan drop, and Braun basically bench presses him up and just throws him across the ring. So the physicality in this match was there. Roman got launched off the stage into the side of the ambulance. We saw Braun pull out the backboard from the back of the ambulance and proceed to hit Braun to hit Roman with the backboard. That was a pretty intense shot. And then we get into the final sequences of this match. Um, we see Roman Reigns put Strowman through the LED wall, and then you have the announcer saying he can't get up, he can't get up, and then you see Strowman stir, and he gets up, and this leads them back down onto the floor in the corner by the ambulance. They kind of go back and forth, leaning in one side of the door, leaning into the back end of the ambulance, and ultimately both doors end up open. And Reigns goes for a spear, and he misses and flies into the ambulance. And Strowman closes the doors and wins the match. Shortly afterwards, as Braun is celebrating his victory, you see Reigns hop out of the ambulance and spear Strowman, and then proceed to get into the ambulance and drive out of the arena into the back area. And he pauses at this point, and you see the cameras kind of zoom in on Roman as he's pondering what he wants to do. And then you see him throw the ambulance into reverse and proceed to drive it into the back end of a semi-trailer, which you know, the impact of the two hitting was pretty big, and you see the back end of the ambulance concave, and then you see Roman Reigns walk off as Kurt Angle comes into the scene, and there's people there trying to get Braun out of the back end. And so then we kind of cut away as they're like calling in ambulances and the fire department to get him out of there. And you see the side by side frames here of the scene, and then them moving to an impromptu match that they have set up with Heath Slater and Kurt Hawkins. Heath Slater wins, but it got cut off immediately as soon as the ambulances and the fire department arrive. We cut back to the scene as they open up the door, and Braun kind of crawls out of the back end of the ambulance, and he's covered in blood. He's cut open his head, and his arms are all cut up. And people are trying to help him, and he keeps shoving them away. And my initial thoughts here, as this is happening, and Braun walks away, in my eyes, I think he's looking for Roman, and I'm sure we'll see something on Raw tomorrow, of footage of them battling. Maybe, I don't know. My initial thoughts after this happens, and they go back to the announcer's desk to prepare for the Universal Championship match. My thoughts were: is this a double turn with Roman turning heel finally, or is there going to be a stoppage in the Universal title match because Braun and Roman reappear? And then my third thought was, if the stoppage were to happen in the Universal title match, do we see a fatal four-way elimination match at SummerSlam? And we'll get into the Universal Championship match here in a second, but once again we see Braun Strowman defeating Roman Reigns in the ambulance match, and then the whole chaos with the collision of the ambulance and the semi-trailer, kind of leading away at the end of that match. And another thought that I had is maybe with the announcers focusing on Braun and his health, they again touch on what was Roman Reigns thinking, and you see these images on the camera of them zooming in and zooming out and focusing on Kurt Angle. Do we see a Roman Reigns feud with Kurt Angle maybe if they are turning him heel? That's a possible scenario. It'd be something different and interesting, and maybe we see, because both the guys look strong. And I'm interested to see where the Universal title picture is here in the upcoming weeks leading into SummerSlam. So finally, moving on to the Universal Championship match, Brock Lesnar, the current champ, against Samoa Joe. This starts out with JoJo introducing Joe, and then and then Paul Heyman takes the mic and introduces Brock. And as he's about to say Brock Lesnar, we get a sneak attack before the bell. It leads them both out onto the floor. Joe drives Lesnar into the barricade, and then we see a Uranagi through one of the announcer desks at ringside. Um, and then Joe gets back into the ring and kind of watches on as Lesnar crawls back into the ring. And then we get the bell for the match to start. We've seen six suplexes by Brock Lesnar, and we saw Samoa Joe lock in the Coquina Clutch 4 times. Other than that, I mean, the match was all right. I don't know the exact time that the match ran, but it it was built good. It was built around the whether or not Joe was going to be able to make Lesnar submit. And it looked like that was the case. Joe locked it in for the 4th time, and it looked like Lesnar was about to go. And then all of a sudden, we see him get this burst of energy, and Lesnar hits an F5, and then the match was done. That was it. It was kind of anticlimactic. We see them build and build, and then it was done just like that. So I don't know where they plan to go here. I'm assuming it involves Lesnar and Roman, unfortunately. But Joe looked strong throughout the match, so that's one good thing to look at here. The pay-per-view as a whole was okay. It was a B-level pay-per-view. There were some good spots, but a lot of the decision making that occurred, as far as the storylines go, didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm curious to see where all of these decisions lead to heading into SummerSlam. And so once again, Brock Lesnar retains for the first time since WrestleMania. So apparently the 30-day rule really doesn't apply to Lesnar, which again leads back to why do we have a part-time guy holding the main championship on your show? I don't like it. I thought maybe we'd see a turn from Heyman, see him turning on Brock and becoming the advocate for Joe. That didn't happen. So yeah, so we have Lesnar winning, retaining his title for the first time since WrestleMania. And that's gonna wrap up Great Balls of Fire. Raw Talk was on, and I was thinking about watching it to see if anything happened, but I don't think anything significant is gonna occur. So with all that being done, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. If you have any advice for me, any critiques that you'd like to give, please help me make my content better. And so with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. Maybe do a little bit more gameplay tonight for me to upload later on. So hopefully you guys liked the video. Once again, if you liked it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it around. Until next time at Battlegrounds, I will be doing previews, predictions, and a review for that as well. So until then, take care, and I'll talk to you guys later.